What's up guys, it's Endymion, and lately there's been a concerning controversy surrounding the imminent release of the next-gen first-person shooter, Atomic Heart, and the ever-growing belief that the game and its company are in favor of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This is going to be a lot to cover, so get comfortable and consider this video one big information dump to get you up to speed on this insane developing story. I feel like if I say anything about this game, Russian special forces are gonna barrel roll through my window and abduct me because this story is crazy. To lay the basics down, Atomic Heart is being made by a studio that was originally located in Moscow, but after the war began, they moved to Cyprus. But the bulk of the developers are of course Russian. While this doesn't seem like anything of concern, since games are made by all kinds of people, the more you dig, the weirder this whole situation gets. The studio behind Atomic Heart is named Mundfish. They were founded in 2017, and the game is set in a futuristic alternative timeline where the Soviet Union defeated the Nazis and became the world's most powerful superpower. It's basically BioShock meets Wolfenstein. That's the best way to describe the game. Also, it's open world because modern video games. And it's being promoted with Jensen Ackles of all people with a bizarre live action trailer too. Which makes me wonder how long until people cancel Jensen Ackles for starring in this. Isn't the current political landscape just so much fun? Anyway, after the invasion of Ukraine by Russia last year, you are obviously aware of how insane everything has become since. Many people who were looking forward to Atomic Heart even asked Mundfish if they were for or against the invasion of Ukraine. While a simple yes or no answer would have sufficed, it was Mundfish's nebulous comments that have made all of this worse. They responded on their official Twitter where Mundfish's PR team said, quote, "Guys, we have noted the questions surrounding where we at Mundfish stand. We want to assure you that Mundfish is a developer and studio with a global team focused on an innovative game and is undeniably a pro-peace organization against violence against people. We do not comment on politics or religion. Rest assured, we are a global team focused on getting Atomic Heart into the hands of gamers everywhere. We do not and will not condone contributors or spammers with offensive, hateful, discriminatory, violent, or threatening language or content." End quote. Their official statement on whether they are pro-Russia or not has obviously stirred many people. They don't outright say they're for or against Russia, but simply want to keep their focus on making the best game possible. And while this all seems well and good, well, it gets weirder. According to sites like TheVerge.com, they reported that Atomic Heart will be exclusive to the platform VK Play in countries like Russia, Belarus, Moldova, Uzbekistan, and others. This VK Play is a platform that's basically Steam for Russian gamers, and it's a part of VK Group, which is the largest social media company in Russia. To put it into perspective, this Russian social media platform is roughly 1/4 the size of Twitter, and its CEO is currently under international sanctions placed by the US government, with VK CEO Vladimir Kiriyenko having direct ties to the Russian government and being pro-war against Ukraine. As if all of this wasn't suspicious enough, it turns out that Atomic Heart has 3 primary investors involved with it. The first is GEM Capital, which is described on its website as being an international investment company. And once you click on the About Us page, it states that the company invests globally but focuses in on Eastern European and Middle Eastern ventures primarily. Their bio goes on to state, quote, "We have one of the largest investment portfolios in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, which among others includes the acclaimed Mundfish, Atomic Heart, Owlcat Games, Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous, Weppy, This Is the Police, Deucecraft, Grand Hotel Mania, Unfrozen, Eratus, Lord of the Dead, 110 Industries production center working with top-tier studios worldwide, and GameRand, social network for gamers." End quote. On the surface, GEM Capital seems pretty standard. It's an investment company that, well, invests in stuff. But when you look deeper, it turns out that GEM is being led by Anatoly Pally, who was a former executive at Gazprom, the largest supplier of natural gas on the planet. Gazprom is the largest and most profitable Russian-owned company ever, meaning that all of Russia's oil and gas for their invasion of Ukraine is largely supported by Gazprom. This government-owned gas company also has direct ties to VTB banks, another major player in Russia that is also owned by the government. So that's the first investor. The second is Gaijin Entertainment, who has published games like Star Conflict, Enlisted, and is probably most known for War Thunder. Gaijin Entertainment is no stranger to controversy either. In 2021, the company's ads were seen directly tied to a Donbas YouTube channel, which led many to believe that Gaijin supported and financed the pro-Russian separatists. After this controversy, all ads were pulled featuring Gaijin on those videos. And when asked why their game's logos were stenciled in the background, Gaijin Entertainment simply said they had no involvement, and the people in the video may have just put that there, which again is super weird, but let me know what you think about that one. The last major investor of Atomic Heart is none other than Tencent, the largest Chinese multimedia giant in the world. I don't really think I need to explain this one much, as Tencent has their fingers in so many pies at this point, it'd be easier to list companies that don't have ties to them instead. But it should be said that during the early days of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, many companies left the Russian economy altogether. However, amongst the departures, China was one of the only countries that stayed largely the same once the war began. And one of these companies that has continued to operate within and collaborate with Russia is Tencent. So now that you know the three big investors in Atomic Heart, let's move on to more damning information. Atomic Heart's dev studio Mundfish also came under fire when its official website would prompt a user agreement that would state that Atomic Heart would collect your data. While this is not really anything new, this user agreement would say in its fine print that your data would be given to the Federal Security Service of Russia, with things like your full legal name, your home address, your IP, email, and phone number being given to the Russian government. Likely, if you're born in Russia, this user agreement is nothing new, as every Russian citizen is likely being monitored by their government anyways. But for people outside of Russia, especially in the Western world, yeah, this is a can of worms for sure. And unsurprisingly, this controversy of data collection didn't go over well, and if you go to Mundfish's website now, this user agreement has been suspiciously scrubbed from the website, which doesn't help their case at all when it comes to people accusing them of being pro-Russian. Mundfish would respond to this via thegamer.com, quote, "The company denied the allegations of data harvesting, noting how the privacy statement in the report was outdated and wrong. Mundfish explained that our game and website do not collect any information or data. The company went on to describe how the website's privacy statement is outdated and wrong and should have been removed years ago. We have shut down the shop to assure our fans of the integrity of our studio and products. We apologize for any confusion on this matter." End quote. Beyond all of these weird circumstances, we now come to the CEO of Mundfish, Robert Bragatuni. Robert was also quoted when asked about the three key investors of Atomic Heart, in which he said, quote, "This deal will help us to move towards the release much faster. Tencent operates one of the most popular game platforms in the world, and we are pleased to see them among our investors. After meeting with our partners from Gem Capital, we are happy to find out that our business practices and company culture align perfectly. Now we can confidently say that Tencent shares our corporate values and long-term goals. We have a goal to build a global gaming franchise with Atomic Heart, and the new resources will help us to work with even more talented people." End quote. Yeah, I don't think saying your company culture and business practices align with Gem Capital and Tencent to be the best thing to be open about, but here we are. And according to Robert's LinkedIn profile, before he made Mundfish, he was originally a creative director at Mail.ru Group. Mail.ru is basically the Russian version of Facebook, with pretty much every Russian citizen being active on it, and likely they have little choice of potential platforms, so it's just the de facto social media Russian platform by default. This Mail.ru group was the original name of the company until it was rebranded in October 2021 into VK. Yes, the same VK that also owns VK Play, the Russian version of Steam, and has direct connections to Vladimir Kiriyenko, the CEO of VK, who I said earlier was being sanctioned by world governments due to his connections to the war on Ukraine. So I gotta say, based on everything I've presented so far, it's not looking very cash money for Atomic Heart. You have multiple shady pro-Russian companies all financing and publishing Atomic Heart across the world. And ultimately, the ugly dark truth is that buying this game will line the pockets of pro-Russian groups. That really can't be disputed based on the information that I'm gathering here. There's simply no scenario here where buying Atomic Heart doesn't directly finance companies like VK, Gazprom, or the Russian government as a whole. Now I should say, and I'm not trying to be an apologist here, but startup companies getting funds from their government is nothing new. Pretty much every company you've ever bought something from has in some way been funded by whatever country's government they originate from. If the invasion of Ukraine never happened, none of this would really be out of the ordinary, to be honest. And a lot of Atomic Heart's investments make sense from Gem Capital, which clearly states they focus on Eastern European and Middle Eastern projects, which Atomic Heart is most definitely a part of. It's an unfortunate scenario where the talented developers at Mundfish are being placed in a very weird and controversial spot, with likely nothing they can do or say to sway people's opinions without skepticism taking root. That being said, the reality that Atomic Heart's success will fund pro-Russian groups is definitely something that'll likely explode in the coming weeks. A lot of people may compare the situation to the Hogwarts Legacy one, but in my opinion, this Atomic Heart scenario is way more controversial and weird than anything Hogwarts Legacy could even come close to. And while researching all of this, it was also recently reported that Mick Gordon, the composer of Doom and Doom Eternal, would be the composer of Atomic Heart. Which, when you look at the game, it kinda makes sense to get Mick Gordon on the project. It should be said that Atomic Heart has been in development for almost 7 years now, so anyone coming after Mick Gordon for doing the music would have their anger misplaced, as he likely composed the music well before the invasion of Ukraine even happened. However, in light of the invasion and this can of worms we call the political climate of today, Mick Gordon has announced that he will be donating all the money he was paid by Atomic Heart Studio to humanitarian aid for Ukraine. Mick even said that Mundfish was a delight to work with as well. PC Gamer went on to say, and I quote, "But Gordon's donation isn't intended as a disavowal of either the game or its developer, which Gordon praised highly for its commitment to imagination and artistic freedom. The artist says he's excited to hear his musical contributions come to life when the game comes out." Gordon reserves his ire for the Russian government alone, saying this invasion was not a decision of the Russian people, but rather an authoritarian regime that disregards human rights and dignity. Gordon says he is making the donation because he believes it's important to support pro-peace organizations, stand up for what is right, and to help those in need, especially during times of crisis. He calls for the world to demand an end to this aggression and stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people, end quote. And then Mick Gordon himself had quite a lot to say, so strap yourselves in, and I quote, "On February 24th, 2022, I, like the rest of the world, was horrified as Putin's armies escalated the war in Ukraine with a brutal and unjustifiable invasion, causing immense suffering for the Ukrainian people. The tragedy of this conflict cannot be overstated, with countless innocent lives already lost and the country deeply impacted by violence and instability. This invasion was not a decision of the Russian people, but rather an authoritarian regime that disregards human rights and dignity. The world must continue to demand an end to this aggression and stand in solidarity with the Ukrainian people." 2 years earlier, in April 2020, Mundfish Studio approached me to contribute to the musical vision of Atomic Heart. The game's unique aesthetic combined with my musician's love for Soviet-era synthesizers provided an exciting creative opportunity. I was thrilled to be involved and am grateful that the team saw fit to bring me on board. Working with Mundfish is an absolute delight, as they prioritize imagination and artistic freedom, which is evident in the game's stunning art direction and detailed world building. I'm eager to see and hear my musical contributions come to life in the final game when Atomic Heart releases later this month. I am proud to donate my fee from the game to the Australian Red Cross Ukraine Crisis Appeal in support of the people of Ukraine who are heroically defending their country against aggression." End quote. That was a lot to quote, my god. Well, there you have it, guys. Is buying Atomic Heart morally wrong? I think personally that this is one of the most unfortunate circumstances I think I've ever seen a game being placed under in years. The dark reality is that most of the things you buy in the world today are going to unfortunately line the pockets of people who are probably pretty awful. And like Mick Gordon has said in the article, this invasion was not a decision of the Russian people, but rather an authoritarian regime that disregards human rights and dignity. And the unfortunate reality is that the devs of Atomic Heart are going to be harassed and ridiculed for making something while the leaders of their country have decided to invoke war when that's the last thing we need. So will I be buying Atomic Heart? I'm undecided, mostly because I buy games to cover them on the channel. I did this in the past with Forspoken and Hogwarts, for example, but this situation is knucking futz, so I'll see what goes down. The game does come out very soon, and to be honest, I don't think this controversy is going to hurt the sales of the game that much. If anything, like Hogwarts Legacy, this boycott and controversy will have the Streisand effect, and now more people will buy it since it's so hotly talked about. It should also be said that Mundfish did hold a press release event for Russian journalists, and they had a Soviet Union themed event, which, I mean, makes sense for the game, but like timing wise and all that, yeah, not a good look. Anyway, that's the controversy surrounding Atomic Heart right now. What do you think about all of this? Let me know in the comments. And as always, thanks for watching everyone, and I'll keep my ears open for any more developing stories surrounding Atomic Heart, Witcher, Hogwarts, and more. And until then, I'll see you in the next one, and wait, oh shit!